The alien girl. Everyone wants Vel'Lani was not like others on her planet. She was born with golden eyes that glowed in the dark. Her skin was smooth like silver dust, and her voice was soft like the wind. Every race in the galaxy wanted her. Why? Because her bloodline was ancient and rare. If someone married her, their family name would rise. Their children would be powerful. She was not just a girl, she was a prize. A golden key to power. Leaders of many worlds sent her gifts. Some gave her diamonds from broken moons. Others offered weapons, ships, or even entire planets. Every day more proposals came. Tall warriors, rich kings, wise scholars, all wanted her hand. Some begged, some demanded. But none of them touched her heart. Then one day, she saw something strange. In the palace hangar, where ships were repaired, a human man worked alone. He wore simple clothes. His hands were dirty with oil. He looked tired but calm. His name was Jack. No one noticed him. No one cared about him. He was just a mechanic from a small Earth colony. But Vel'Lani watched him. He didn't bow. He didn't stare at her like the others. He just kept fixing the ship. He was focused. Honest. Real. Later that day, during the royal ceremony, Vel'Lani was asked again, "Who do you choose?" Everyone expected her to pick a prince or a warlord. Silence filled the great hall as she stood. Her eyes looked at the crowd. Then she raised her hand and pointed at Jack. "I choose him," she said. Gasps. Whispers. Shock. "The human?" one noble shouted. "He's a servant," a general laughed. "He has no title, no army, no homeworld of value." But Vel'Lani stayed firm. "I choose him," she said again. Jack stood frozen. He didn't understand. Why him? He didn't even speak to her before. He had no wealth, no plans, just tools in his hand and an old ship he was fixing. The High Elder stepped forward. "Vel'Lani, are you certain?" he asked. "This choice could bring shame to your family. War may follow. The others will not accept this." Vel'Lani only nodded. "I am certain." The news spread fast. Across the galaxy, the powerful were angry. They said the human tricked her. Some said she was broken. Others planned to remove Jack. That night, Jack tried to leave. He packed his tools, ready to return to his tiny home ship. But guards stopped him. "You are now under protection," one said. "Vel'Lani has chosen you, that makes you important, and also a target." Jack didn't want this. He didn't want fame. He didn't want war. He didn't even want her. He only wanted to go back to fixing engines and staying quiet. But it was too late. Messages came from powerful houses. One prince challenged Jack to a duel. Another offered a reward for his head. A third sent assassins in the night. Vel'Lani met Jack the next day. He looked at her with confusion. "Why me?" he asked. "You have everything. I have nothing." She smiled softly. "You looked at me like a person. Not a prize, not a queen, just me." Jack shook his head. "That's not enough. You'll get hurt. I'll get hurt. You should choose again." But Vel'Lani stepped closer. "I've been wanted all my life. But no one ever asked what I want. I want peace, I want truth, and I feel that with you." Jack was quiet. In the distance, a warship entered orbit. The prince who challenged Jack had arrived. More were coming. Jack knew what was next. A fight. A storm. A test he never wanted. And all because of one girl. One alien girl who chose a human over all the power in the galaxy. But something inside Jack changed that day. Maybe it was her words. Maybe it was the way. She looked at him not with pity but with hope. Maybe this was the beginning of something greater than either of them understood. A target on the human's back. The moment Vel'Lani chose Jack, his life changed forever. He was no longer just a human mechanic. He became the most hated man in the HFY galaxy by those who thought they deserved her. Vel'Lani's decision spread fast. News networks showed her pointing at Jack over and over. Some laughed at the idea. Others called it a scandal. But many were angry. Very angry. Alien lords felt insulted. Warriors felt dishonored. They believed Jack stole what was meant for them. And they wanted revenge. Jack didn't ask for any of this. He never wanted fame or love from a royal alien. All he ever wanted was peace, a quiet job, and his small ship back in working order. But now, everywhere he went, eyes followed him. Whispers turned into threats. The shadows felt colder. It started small. A broken wire in his room, a missing tool. Then one night someone tried to poison his drink. A guard noticed just in time. The palace tightened security. Vel'Lani demanded protection for Jack. But even with guards around him, he felt like a man walking on a thin line. One wrong step, and he'd fall. One morning, Vel'Lani visited him in the garden. "You look tired," she said gently. "I haven't slept," Jack replied. "They all want to kill me. I don't understand why you did this." Vel'Lani sat beside him. "Because you didn't chase me like the others. You didn't want my name. You didn't fake respect. You were just honest. And I wanted that." Jack looked at her and shook his head. "But I can't protect you. I'm not a warrior. I don't need you to protect me," she whispered. "I just need you to be yourself." That same day, an explosion rocked the side of the palace. Smoke filled the halls. Screams echoed. An assassin disguised as a servant had planted the bomb. Jack was thrown off his feet, but he survived barely. A piece of metal sliced his shoulder, blood soaked his shirt. He could hear Vel'Lani calling his name as the guards rushed in. Later, as he lay on a medical bed, Vel'Lani held his hand. She didn't cry, but her hands trembled. "I should have never pulled you into this," she said. Jack looked at her, with tired eyes. "It's not your fault. You just made a choice. The others couldn't handle it." But deep inside, Jack felt something shifting. He was tired of running, tired of being hunted. He had always been silent, always kept his head down, but now the galaxy was forcing him to stand tall, or fall forever. That night, Vel'Lani told Jack a secret. "I have powers, hidden since birth. My people feared them. That's why they tried to control me with marriage. They want to tie my blood to theirs. They think it will give them control, but I won't let that happen." Jack listened closely. "So they want your power, not just your beauty." "Yes," she said. "And if they can't have it, they want to destroy you, so no one else can." A message arrived the next morning. A royal challenge had been declared. One of the most feared alien princes, Karnak the Horned, had demanded a public duel. The old laws allowed it. If he defeated Jack, he would take Vel'Lani by force. Jack felt a cold chill in his spine. He had no chance in a fight like that. Karnak was 7 feet tall, born in battle, and covered in armor made from the bones of fallen beasts. Jack was just a man. Vel'Lani begged the council to deny the challenge. "He's not a warrior," she said. "This is not fair." But the council shook their heads. The right of claim cannot be denied. Jack stood in silence. Then he said something no one expected. "I accept the challenge." Vel'Lani turned to him in shock. "No, you'll die." Jack looked at her and spoke quietly. "If I keep running, they'll never stop. But if I stand, maybe, just maybe, they'll finally listen." Everyone stared at him. A human. A mechanic. A man who cleaned ships, now preparing to face a warrior prince in front of the galaxy. He had no armor, no weapons of power, just his hands, his mind, and the hope in Vel'Lani's eyes. Her past, his truth. Jack stood at the edge of the training ground, hands wrapped in cloth, heart heavy with fear. The duel was days away. He had never trained for war. He had never even thrown a real punch in anger. He only knew how to fix broken things, not how to fight monsters. That night, Vel'Lani found him alone again. This time, she wasn't wearing her royal robes. She wore a simple cloak like someone from the lower class. Her golden eyes didn't glow as brightly now. "You look like you're waiting for the end," she said softly. Jack gave a tired smile. "Feels like it." "I'm sorry," she whispered, sitting beside him. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted to be free." Jack looked at her carefully. "You're the most wanted woman in the galaxy. Why pick me for that freedom?" Vel'Lani didn't speak right away. Instead, she looked up at the stars. "Do you know what it's like to be watched your whole life? To be told what to wear, how to speak, who to smile at? I was 5 when I was told I would be married one day, not for love, but for power." Jack listened without interrupting. "They trained me like a pet," she said. "Every move I made was judged. I was never alone, never touched by kindness. My name meant power, but I never knew peace. Then one day, I saw you, just working, just breathing, just being real. You didn't stare, you didn't kneel, you just lived." Jack frowned. "I've got my past too, you know. It's not pretty." Vel'Lani turned to him. "Tell me." So he did. He told her about Earth. Not the one in the history books, but the broken one he came from. The one with forgotten colonies and silent wars. He told her how he once wore a soldier's uniform, how he fought in the Dust Belt War on a dead moon, how he lost a brother there. "He was younger than me," Jack said, voice low. "He trusted me to protect him, but I couldn't. After that, I never wanted to fight again. I ran. I found peace in machines." Vel'Lani touched his hand. "You didn't run, you survived." "No," Jack said, looking down. "I hid." A long silence passed. Vel'Lani stood up and looked him in the eyes. "Then maybe it's time you stop hiding." Jack looked confused. "You said you can't protect me, but you already are," she said. "Not with fists, with truth, with your heart." Jack shook his head. "Heart doesn't win a duel." Vel'Lani stepped closer. "Maybe not. But it can win, people." The next day, something strange happened. The servants who once looked at Jack with fear now began to bow. One old alien woman placed a charm in his hand and whispered, "For luck, brave one." Even some guards began treating him differently. They had seen suitors with power, but never a man with courage who stood for love without greed. Jack felt it. Change. Small but real, but not everyone was moved. Prince Karnak sent a message. "Prepare to die, human." In response, Vel'Lani sent a silent gift, a small blade made of moon glass, sharp but light. "It's not to kill," she told Jack. "It's to remind you you're not alone." Jack held the blade. It was beautiful and cold, like the fear still sitting in his chest. Later, he sat in his old hangar where all this had started. Looking at a half-repaired ship, he remembered the quiet life, the simple life, the safe life. Then he heard footsteps. Vel'Lani again. "You came back," he said. She smiled. "You're the only place I feel safe." Jack looked at her and finally understood. This wasn't about winning her. This was about fighting for something real. For the first time in a long time. Not for fame, not for a crown, but for choice, for freedom, for both of them. The Royal Challenge begins. The arena was older than most cities. Built on a floating rock in deep space, it had seen thousands of battles, but never one like this. Never a human. Never someone so unprepared, yet so watched by the entire galaxy. Jack arrived with no cheering crowds, no royal flags behind him, just silence. Only Vel'Lani walked beside him. Her eyes were calm, but her hands were shaking. Karnak, the alien prince, was already waiting inside. He was massive. His skin was like black stone, his horns curved like blades. His armor burned with red light. People called him the Mountain Who Walks. He was born in war, raised in pain, and never lost a duel. Jack didn't wear armor, just a tight suit and boots. In his hand he held the moon-glass blade Vel'Lani gave him. It felt light, almost too light. "You still have time to walk away," Vel'Lani whispered. Jack looked at her. "If I run, they'll never stop chasing you. I'm not here to win. I'm here to be heard." She nodded, though her eyes filled with tears. The royal speaker raised a golden staff. "By the law of claim, this duel begins. No help, no tricks. Only one stands in the end." The gates closed. Jack stepped into the center. Karnak laughed. "You? This is who she picked? I will break you like dry wood." Jack didn't answer. "The Tar." Prince rushed forward like thunder. Jack dodged left barely. A flash of claws missed his face by inches. He rolled, using speed, not strength. He couldn't match Karnak's power, but he had studied machines, wires, balance. He knew how things worked. And he knew Karnak's size came with weakness, slow turns, wide swings. He danced, quick on his feet, slashing the prince's arm. A thin line of dark blood appeared. The crowd gasped. Someone had touched Karnak. That alone was history. Karnak roared and attacked harder. Jack fell once, twice. Blood stained his lip, his arm was bruised, his chest burned from one hard hit. But he got up. Again and again. Vel'Lani watched, her heart breaking. She whispered his name like a prayer. Then, Jack saw it. The armor plate near Karnak's shoulder was cracked. Not big, but enough. He waited. He circled. He breathed slow. Then, when Karnak charged, Jack stepped sideways, ducked low, and stabbed upward. The moon glass sliced through the cracked plate. Karnak screamed and dropped to one knee. The arena fell silent. Jack could have ended it, one more move, one more strike, but he stopped. He backed away. "I'm not here to kill," Jack said, voice steady. "I'm here to prove you don't own her." The speaker raised his staff. "The human wins." The crowd erupted. Some cheered. Some cried. Others were too shocked to move. Vel'Lani ran into the arena. She didn't care about rules. She threw her arms around Jack. "You did it," she whispered. "You showed them." Jack could barely stand. "I didn't win a war," he said softly. "I just stopped one man." Vel'Lani looked into his eyes. "No. You changed everything." Across the stars, people watched the moment. A human, chosen over hundreds of alien leaders, stood not in glory but in truth. He had no crown. But now he had the galaxy's attention, but not everyone was pleased. In the shadows above the arena, a hooded figure turned away from the screen. "This is not over," he said, and far away, on a dark planet, a new plan was already in motion. Human. Strength, alien hearts. Jack didn't sleep the night after the duel. His body ached, but his mind was louder than the pain. He kept thinking about the moment he had Karnak on his knees, and didn't kill him. Most people would have taken the chance. But Jack wasn't a killer. He never wanted to be one. He only wanted to be free, and let Vel'Lani be free too. Outside his room, the halls of the palace were different now. Where once there were whispers and insults, now there were curious stares and quiet respect. Guards nodded to him. Servants brought him food without being told. Something had shifted. The galaxy had seen a human stand against its strongest and win without hatred. But Jack didn't feel like a hero. He still felt like the same man, alone, unsure, and far from home. Vel'Lani visited early that morning. She didn't say anything at first. She just sat beside him and looked out the window at the rising suns. "They're still watching us," Jack said. "I know," she replied, still angry. "They will be for a long time." Jack glanced at her. "And what about you? Regret choosing me yet?" Vel'Lani smiled, slow and real. "You fought with heart, not just hands. You gave them a message no weapon could. That I am not something to be owned." Jack looked down. I still don't understand why you want me. Vel'Lani stood and stepped closer. Because you don't try to control me. You listen. You speak without pride. You care without needing something back. That's rare even among stars. Just then the walls shook. An alarm rang out. Jack and Vel'Lani rushed outside. A fleet was approaching the palace. Dozens of ships from the Noble Alliance. One of the high families had decided they wouldn't accept the duel result. They wanted Vel'Lani, and they wanted Jack dead. The sky darkened as warships hovered above. Defense cannons locked on. Fighters flew out. The planet prepared for battle. Vel'Lani's father, the High Elder, turned to her. You must go. Now. They won't stop until they tear this place apart. Jack stepped forward. We'll leave. The Elder hesitated, then nodded. Take the secret path through the old tunnels. It leads to the outer mountains. There an old transport waits. It's unmarked. They won't follow it. Vel'Lani grabbed Jack's hand. Let's go. They ran through stone halls, past ancient doors and dusty statues. Jack couldn't stop thinking, why did they hate them so much? Was love really that dangerous? The answer came when they reached the mountains. A team of bounty hunters was already there. The noble families had guessed the escape route. The hunters were cruel, fast, and heavily armed. Jack took cover, pulling Vel'Lani behind a rock. They came for you. No, she said, voice tight. They came for us. Jack breathed. I have an idea, but I'll need your help. He had seen old mining equipment nearby, long forgotten but still working. Using broken wires, a power cell, and a few engine parts, Jack created a blinding pulse light and a shock trap. They waited. Then when the hunters moved closer, Jack threw the device. A flash, a blast, confusion. Vel'Lani used her hidden power, light, from her hands that blinded their tech. Jack knocked two of them down using only a pipe. The rest ran, shocked and defeated. Breathing hard, Jack turned to her. You have powers. Why didn't you use them earlier? She looked sad. Because they feared me when I did. I was told to hide them. Jack nodded. Not anymore. They reached the transport and took off. The stars stretched around them. Behind, the palace faded into distance. Ahead, only the unknown. As the stars passed by, Vel'Lani rested her head on Jack's shoulder. Where will we go? She asked. Jack stared out the window. Someplace quiet, someplace far, someplace we can choose, together. In that moment, they weren't a royal and a human, not a prize and a challenger, just two souls trying to escape a world that never let them be free. But even in deep space, the galaxy watches, and somewhere, in the silence between stars, something darker was rising, escaping the chains of power. The stars were quiet, too quiet. Jack and Vel'Lani drifted far from the palace world, deep into uncharted space. The stolen transport moved slowly, hidden by asteroid clouds and black nebula. But Jack knew peace. Like this wouldn't last. Power never lets go so easily, and Vel'Lani's bloodline was power. They found shelter on an old cargo moon, half abandoned and forgotten by most maps. The station still had oxygen, a broken radio, and a rusted shield dome. Not much, but enough. For a few days, they lived simply. Jack fixed the roof. Vel'Lani learned to cook earth food. They laughed for the first time. She wore no jewels, no robes, just plain clothes and freedom. She walked outside without guards. Jack watched her smile and thought, this is what she wanted all along. But the galaxy had not forgotten. One morning, while checking the comm tower, Jack heard static. Then, a voice. This is the Council of Bloodlines. We know where you are. Return Vel'Lani at once or face full destruction. He switched off the radio and stared at the stars. They found us. Vel'Lani stood beside him. Then we run again. Jack shook his head. No, we need to do more than run. We need to disappear. There's a place, she said after a pause. Old stories say it hides everything, even from time. What kind of place? She looked serious. The edge of all light. No one who goes there ever returns. But maybe that's what we need. Jack nodded. Then let's find it. They left that night, flying through broken warp tunnels and ghost sectors. Along the way, their bond grew stronger. Jack didn't feel like just a human anymore. He felt needed. And Vel'Lani, once the untouchable alien queen, now laughed freely, sat barefoot and hummed old songs. But their journey wasn't easy. A bounty ship followed them, silent and fast. They dodged through asteroid belts. Once they nearly crashed into a dying star. At another point, they ran out of food. Jack got sick. Vel'Lani stayed by his side, holding his hand while he shook from fever. "You're not allowed to die," she whispered. "You're the only one who ever saw me." He lived. Barely. Then came the signal, a strange one. Not a call, but a pull. The ship's system began blinking. Vel'Lani's eyes glowed brighter. "It's near," she whispered. The edge. The signal pulled them toward a region of space where light bent unnaturally. No stars, just shadows, and a silver gate floating between two dead suns. Jack slowed the ship. "That's it," Vel'Lani said. "But what's on the other side?" he asked. "I don't know." Jack stared at the gate. "We go through. There's no coming back." Vel'Lani looked at him gently. "Everyone wants me. They want my name, my blood, my power. But you wanted nothing from me. That's why I want you. I choose a life with you, even if it means we vanish forever." Jack didn't answer, with words. He took her hand, then he flew the ship through the gate. Behind them, sensors from enemy ships stopped working. They lost the trail. Even the Council's best hunters couldn't follow. And beyond the gate, silence. Peace. Somewhere new. Somewhere they could build their own world. A choice for the future. They passed through the gate, and the universe changed. No stars. No planets. Just soft light, floating colors, and a strange feeling like time had slowed down. Jack looked around, confused. "Are we inside something?" Vel'Lani nodded slowly. The edge of all light. Not a place, but a space between places. Their ship floated gently, like it was being held by invisible hands. The engines shut off on their own, but the ship stayed in motion, silent and calm. Here, they felt safe. Not chased, not watched, just free. For the first time, Vel'Lani let her power shine fully. Her body glowed with soft golden light. Her eyes sparkled like twin suns. Jack watched her, not as a queen or a symbol, but simply as a woman, brave, broken, healing. They stayed inside the ship for days or maybe weeks. Time didn't move normally there. They talked. They dreamed. They planned a life not ruled by bloodlines or laws, just choices. But even in peace, questions grew inside Jack. "Will they always chase us?" he asked one night. Vel'Lani leaned on his shoulder. "Maybe, but they can't reach us here. And if we leave, they'll hunt us again." Jack nodded. He missed stars. He missed sounds of life, wind, dirt, fire. But most of all, he missed meaning. He didn't want to hide forever. Then, maybe, we don't stay. Maybe we go back. Together. Vel'Lani sat up. "You want to return?" "No. I want to make a future," Jack said. "We don't belong to them, but we don't have to disappear to be free. Let's go back not to serve, but to show them something new." Vel'Lani was quiet. Then she smiled. "You're still the same human. Quiet, stubborn, honest. That's why I chose you." They stood at the center of the strange light and made their choice. The gate reopened. Their ship flew through, faster than light, past galaxies and empires, back to the edges of known space. But when they came out, something was different. People had changed. The story of Jack's duel had spread further than they knew. across planets, across borders. His kindness, his bravery, his mercy, it had become legend. Other young aliens began to question the old ways. Other royal daughters started saying no. One small action had planted seeds of a new idea, that love could not be claimed by force. When Jack and Vel'Lani stepped onto a neutral world, no one attacked. No one shouted. Instead, someone bowed, then another, then more, not out of fear, but respect. The Council of Bloodlines tried to speak, but their voices were weak now. Their control had cracked. Vel'Lani faced them without fear. "You called me a prize," she said. "I am not. I am a person. And I am not your servant," Jack added. "I am her partner." Together they walked away. Not to hide, but to live. Years later, stories would still be told of them. Of the alien girl who could have ruled empires but chose a simple human. Of the man who fought not with hate, but with heart. And of a love so strong it broke the chains. Of power. Their future wasn't written in the stars. It was written by their own hands. Together.